like to call to order the City Council meeting of Tuesday, May 18th, 2010, with a roll call, please.
Mayor Martini? Here. City Clerk Patterson here. Council members Ratty? Here. Salerno? Here. Smith?
Here.
Kerrigan?
Here.
Schmidt?
Here.
City Manager Carey?
Here.
City Attorney Adams?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, if you'd all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Mr. Adams, would you lead us?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is comments from the public. If you want to speak under comments from the public, please fill out one of these cards and bring it up. You'll have 3 minutes. I have one card, Mr. John Howitt. Welcome, sir. Just have a seat, John. Make sure the microphone's on.
I want to thank you all for allowing me to come to speak to you. Appreciate that.
Hello. Okay. My name is John Howitt. I'm a business owner, pilot, and vice president of the Reno Tahoe Aviation Association. I'm here today to make you aware of a situation at the Reno Tahoe Airport that threatens general aviation. This more than likely not only will impact us as aircraft owners and pilots, but will affect our citizens and local government budgets as well. Currently, there are 3 fixed-base operators at the Reno Airport. These FBOs are businesses who support pilots and aircraft by providing essential services such as fuel, maintenance, parking, hangars, and garage services for aircraft. 2 out of the 3 FBOs at the Reno Tahoe Airport have had their contract come up for renewal. The Reno Tahoe Airport Authority has offered to renew their leases at an increase of 40 times the rent they currently pay now. Both JetWest and Sierra Air have rejected this offer as untenable and now plan to close their facilities. This will result in approximately 80 to 100 aircraft leaving the Reno Airport. Currently, there's no hangar space available at STED. With the closure of the 2 FBOs and the removal of approximately 80-plus hangars, we'll have no place to put our airplanes on the Reno Airport or, for that matter, Washoe County. Our aircraft are valued at anywhere from $50,000 to $40 million. The 3 local governing bodies receive taxes on these aircraft at the rate of approximately 1%. For instance, a $100,000 aircraft would generate $1,000 in tax revenue per year. A $20 million aircraft generates $200,000 in tax revenue per year. If 25 to 50% of these aircraft leave Washoe County, I estimate the loss of revenue to the 3 governing bodies will be in excess of $1 million. If only one of these higher-end aircraft leave this county, it will cost the governments in lost revenue $100,000 to $200,000 a year. Many aircraft have already left. When we are freezing payroll, considering layoffs to police officers, firemen, teachers, and librarians, how many of these positions could be saved by keeping these aircraft here at our community airport? I'm here to ask you to ask our trustees you appoint to the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority to include the pilots, aircraft owners, passengers, and citizens in any plan. I would also ask the council to support the Reno Tahoe Aviation Association in its airport in its effort to obtain a fair and balanced approach for all users of the Reno Airport. Association President Tom Hagee and I will be writing to each of you. We will be seeking an opportunity to explain our position to you in person. Thank you for your time and attention. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Questions for Mr. Howitt. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, John. John, I know we're aware of what's going on out there. You had a meeting, was it last week?
Yes.
How did that go?
Well, the airport got an hour and a half to present their position, which was well known to the trustees. The association was granted 10 minutes. We were first told that we were going to have this meeting on the 20th with 3 working days notice. It was moved up to the 10th. This is such a big issue for us, however. Your appointee, Mr. Mayor, who's chairman, he had to admit that he was going to have to close the doors because so many people were coming and they were exceeding the fire capacity of the building with 3 days notice. there's 640 pilots in this county, and over 100 showed up to that meeting with 3 days' notice. This is a huge issue for us, and it impacts the community in ways that, many ways, that won't be known until GA is gone. You all have a handout there that shows you some of the things that GA does, but just tell you, I use my airplane in my business. I'm a respiratory therapist. I see patients all over rural Nevada and rural California that otherwise would have to be hospitalized at the regional hospital. Now we have a regional airport, and that's where I fly my plane out to see these patients. If a patient's family will come pick me up, I'll fly out there and see them. That allows them to stay at home. For instance, just the other day, I went to Susanville to see a patient that was on a ventilator. That patient would still be in the hospital here, Northern Nevada, if I wasn't able to go to his house and see him there and take care of him. And so many of us, Perry De Loreto has testified, followed me many times, and here's a guy that really lived the American dream, and he was able to do that because he had an aircraft that allowed him to come to Reno and San Francisco back and forth. And he simply said, hey, look, I've already made my money, made my dream, but I want to keep this available so other people can make their money and make their dream. So, he said it very eloquently, I think, and that's what we're after. We're not trying to push anybody out. We think that there's so much room down there at the airport for all of us that you could accommodate all the stakeholders. How often do you folks have an opportunity to please everybody? But that exists at the Reno Tahoe Airport, but we can't even get any plans forward with the trustees. So what we're asking for is for you to ask the trustees to sit down with us, because we've got so many thoughts and ideas on the issues that we think there's a solution for everybody to make everybody happy.
Just one more. Did they move to Carson City, the two that have moved out already, or where did they go?
Well, IGT was at the meeting, the chief pilot for there. They went to Henderson. They've said $32 million in aircraft, 1% of $32 million.
Right.
You know what that is, 320,000. They went to Henderson. I can just tell you that JetWest was about 95% capacity 6 months ago. Now they're in the 40% capacity. I mean, they have just decimated that business by mishandling it. And then they said, go over to Sierra. So Sierra's doing a little bit better, but Sierra ultimately didn't get the contract either. So they're going to close 2 of the 3 FBOs.
Right.
So.
Thank you, John.
Okay, one more, Mr. Salerno.
Yeah, 2 of the FBOs closed because of their contracts. What about the third one? When's their contract up?
That comes up in 7 years, but understand that that FBO, Atlantic, only has 5% of the hangar space available to GA. So essentially, if you close JetWest, get rid of those hangars, because what they want to do here is they want to bulldoze that and put in cargo there. And then then they're ultimately going to tear down the hangars for Sierra, because they want to widen taxiway Charlie with no other plans to build other hangars on the airport. So we're looking at 95% of the capacity for hangars. And you have to understand that, probably the average age of a GA aircraft in this country is about 35 years. And how we get that much time out of a machine is that we take good care of them. We put them in hangars, and we do the maintenance, and there's annuals that have to be done, 100-hour inspections that have to be done on these airplanes. So that's how, a car lasts us, 5-6 years generally. We go out and buy a new one. I feel like I got a new airplane, and my airplane was built in 1970. So it's 40 years old. I'm only 47 years old, to give you an idea. So. We use them for a long time. People think that we're just a bunch of rich guys, but really we're a bunch of simple business owners who use these airplanes in conjunction with our business. And, it's true, a brand new airplane would cost about $600,000-$700,000. But a used airplane that's in perfectly good shape, 40 years old, costs you $100,000. And that's within the means of most of us sitting here today.
John, how's that going to affect, or will it affect, during some of the special events, like the Reno Tahoe Open, a lot of those golfers fly in.
Absolutely.
And that that'd be the southwest area where they park all those aircraft. Is this going to
Right.
affect them?
Well, quite frankly, it will affect them because you go from 3 FBOs down to 1. It's supply and demand. What will happen to the price? If I'm running a business and I'm the only game in town, the cost will go up, and many of these, I can tell you, many of these event sponsors that I've spoke to, the sponsors themselves use GA aircraft to fly in, and one of their major concerns is that what will it cost, if we're picking a venue, what will it cost our members to come in and utilize this venue? If I were to tell you today you were picking a venue that it was going to cost you 5 times what for a hotel and space that it cost you before, would you be interested in choosing this venue? So the first thing that these folks will be greeted with is high ramp fees, higher fuel fees. I mean, that's not saying welcome to me. And this is exactly what I'm going to testify before the visitors convention, is that, here we are in an economy that's dependent on travelers coming here and guests, and that's no way to throw out the welcome mat by higher fees.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you very much for hearing me. And, I got to tell you, I go to all these meetings lately, and I appreciate the fair and open process here. I really do. An opportunity to engage you, talk to you face to face, and sit here only a matter of a foot away from you. So thanks again for that.
Thanks, John. Okay, next is approval of the agenda. Anybody want to take anything out of order? If not, looking for a motion. Mr. Smith?
Move to approve.
Mr. Salerno? Second. Moved by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilman Salerno to approve the agenda as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Number 3, next is a public hearing as required by NRS 354.596 to the public, to allow public comment on the tentative budget of the City of Sparks for fiscal year 2010-11. Mr. Cronk?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We've got two items before you today. This first agenda item is really just to satisfy NRS requirement to hold a public hearing on the third Tuesday of May of our tentative budget, which we filed on April 15th. So there's no action required today other than on this particular item, other than to open up just the public hearing. And then the second item will actually be to approve the final budget.
Okay. All right, any questions or anything? All right, this is a public hearing item, so I'll open to the public. Anyone in the audience like to speak to this particular agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to staff for number 4. Consideration possible adoption of a final budget for the City of Sparks for fiscal year 2010-2011. Mr. Smith?
No, wait.
Oop, push your button again. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, this is the item where we're going to actually finalize the budget, which we had discussed at April 26th, with very few changes since that meeting. So I did outline in our staff report just a couple of changes that we had since that meeting, but otherwise, the budget that we're preparing, that we prepared and put before you for consideration to be finalized today is pretty much what we had talked about on April 26th. The items that we did change, well, we're really, other than to the tentative budget, because the process is basically you take the tentative budget, then we have our workshop, and then then we finalize the tentative budget. So we basically make adjustments to that budget, and that's what we're presenting to you today. The only increases since our workshop that we had on April 26th was an increase of $35,000 for federal lobbying costs. That's going to be anticipated for the next legislative session. And then the net
We got a
change-
question.
Oh,
Jeff, should that say state?
I'm sorry.
Shouldn't that say state lobbying costs?
I believe so, yes.
Thanks.
Yes, I'm sorry. In the staff report you're referring to?
Yeah, it says
Yes.
35 for federal lobbying. I
Yeah.
think that's for state lobbying.
You're
Is that not
absolutely
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're absolutely correct. The other last item that we had there was just a net change of personnel changes from accepting the tentative agreements that we have with the employee groups versus the layoff plans that we had talked about, and some of the adjustments that you all had approved. That net change in the personnel moves required us to increase our transfers from internal service funds by about $325,000. So those were the two primary changes since we had talked on April 26th. With this recommendation, the city manager is also looking for approval to continue negotiations with the employee groups, since those aren't finalized. We do have tentative agreements, but they're not finalized the way I understand it. He's looking for approval to continue those negotiations, and also the approval and authority to proceed with layoffs depending on how those negotiations work out.
Okay, questions for Jeff? Mr. Smith?
I'm just ready to make a motion. There's no questions.
Do we have any questions? Okay, Mr. Smith?
Okay, I move to adopt the final budget for the City of Sparks as presented today for fiscal year 2010-2011, and direct the city manager to continue negotiations with employee groups to seek wage and benefit reductions, and grant the city manager the authority to implement layoffs as necessary to implement this budget and maintain a general fund ending fund balance equal to 5% of the departmental expenditures, with one change. I would like to add in an evidence technician to the police department that we previously laid off. The reason being is the salary and benefits that this employee would make would be about a third or fourth of what the county will charge us once they assume the duties that this evidence technician does.
Mr. Kerrigan?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Kerrigan. Everyone understand the motion that we're adding back in a technician at the police department? Is that correct, Mr. Smith?
Yes,
Okay.
evidence technician.
Questions? Mr. Schmidt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, that means that we have to do an additional layoffs to cover that position, and tag with that, the 354 that we're short right now, or do we have to still do layoffs to cover those?
Mr. Kerrigan? Mr. Gronk? Somebody?
I would say that's your prerogative. Basically, what that means is we have a shortfall, so we have to use the fund balances within the internal service funds in order to make this budget balance, in order to maintain that 5% ending fund balance as our policy. How you get there, I would say, is your prerogative. Either you get there through layoffs, or you use those fund balances and draw those down.
So at this point, you've got to do more layoffs than we authorized, cover the 354, and you're going to have to do more layoffs to authorize the police tech to come back in. So
Well, what we have
we won't be
have
just
right
exchanging
now-
one for somebody else.
I would recommend at this point that we authorize the additional position in the police department as requested by the council, adjust our internal service fund balances to accomplish that, and basically use the budget as presented as the marker for additional layoffs. And during the course of the year, we will continue to evaluate downfalls in any revenues or increases in expenditures so that we can enter next year with 5% intact from this year, and that's approximately $2.6 million. Next year, as this budget presents a two-year view, we do show a need to cut about $1 million from the budget. So it'll be very important that with your action today, as is included in the motion, that we continue to exercise a conservative approach and continue efforts to downsize our budget so that our services won't receive some of the jolts that have been necessary over the last year by accumulating some of these actions. So I think today your direction to the finance director can accomplish this additional position with working within our internal services fund balances, and then we'll start next year with a plan intact to maintain the fund balance and do layoffs as necessary. And of course, those layoffs will be communicated with the council as parts of agenda items so that you're aware of where our service levels are going, because that's been very critical to the council to understand service levels. And our reductions in employees to date have and will be very noticeable to our citizens. So critically, we need to close negotiations towards the 15% that we started off with just a few months ago. And I'm hopeful that our labor groups will continue their good faith efforts that they put forth so far, and that we can be successful in managing this without additional layoffs.
Motion makers okay with what we got on the table? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
So, the reason why I'm asking the questions is I want to make sure that it's clear to the employees that, okay, we approved this budget, we've had announced layoffs, we're anticipating adjusting numbers to go and accommodate this new position, but there is still the chance that we're going to have to lay off people the course of next year. That it's not, that we're not sitting there saying that there won't be any more layoffs.
We are not saying that. We believe that within the next year, we will continue to need to downsize our organization or achieve employee concessions, and those are going to be required to maintain our fund balance. There simply is, as presented in these numbers, a very clear course that our approach needs to conclude that authority next year for layoffs.
That's whether we approve this or not, there's still a possibility of layoffs, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make that clear. Mr. Smith?
And that's why in the motion it says that we grant the city manager the authority to
Yeah.
implement layoffs. And also, and maybe I didn't say it clearly, if we don't have an evidence technician, the county will assume those duties, and the bill for that is about $400,000 to $500,000 a year. So to me, this is a no-brainer.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Sean, I wanted to make it clear, though, that you're talking about layoffs, but from those groups that haven't made concessions, is that correct?
I believe the budget, Mike, next year does need to recognize where we have reached tentative agreements, and that's in the area of the police department, and with IFF 1265. We have yet to close negotiations with our operating engineers group, and that will be a significant challenge at this point, as we will be having to maintain the numbers that are included in your budget in order not to violate this, so.
So that's a yes?
That's a yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Ms. Ratty?
No question, just a comment. I do want to echo that, we started this process asking for 7.5 this year and 7.5 next year. And so even with the current concessions on the table, we didn't get to the 15% that we needed. So it's not about this one position. It's about that we didn't, even by accepting those concessions, we didn't quite make it to where we need to be, which means that next year we're going through a similar process again of figuring out how to fill a gap, likely at the end of the year. I think that's important that everybody, even if we say it 3 or 4 times here, it's important that that's very clear. And then I won't be supporting this motion. I believe that by shifting some of the savings into the police department, it unduly burdens some of the other departments, and I just can't get there, so I wanted to let you know that.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Sean, is our half cent for the homeless shelter in this budget?
Yes, sir, that was part of your recommendations from the 26th.
I just want to make that clear.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Schmidt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We started this process in January with some very clear guidelines. This is the last day for the city council to act. I also think that, all the departments needed to come together, needed to do the equal concessions as we outlined in January. Unfortunately, this is the last day for the council to act. I'm going to be voting in favor of it because, every bargaining group had the opportunity to come forward. I don't necessarily agree with putting the technician back on in, but we're required to pass a budget, state law here today. This is our last chance. We don't get to go back and look at it. We have to get things taken care of today, so I'll be supporting the motion because it's our last opportunity. We have to get a budget passed. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Salerno?
Jeff, but you can, even though we vote on this today and approve this tentative budget, you can still make changes up to June, something?
The tentative budget has already been filed.
Yeah.
This would be the final budget. So,
To amend the budget.
And by NRS, we are required to file it by June 1st. So what I'm getting from you today is your approval to go back, make the changes that you recommend, send in all the proper forms to the state of
And
that
then
by
that's
that
it.
time, yeah.
But you can amend the budget down
You
there.
can only amend the budget based on legislative action.
Okay. All right, good. Glad we understand that. Any other questions? Okay, everyone understand the motion? Okay, seeing no further questions, please vote. Passes 4-1, Ms. Ratty, no. Okay, thanks, Jeff, appreciate it. Okay, next, number 5, comments from the city council and city manager. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have some announcements regarding opportunities to serve on commissions and committees here within the city of Sparks. We have some terms that are expiring on June 30th of 2010. First is the Civil Service Commission, which has one appointment, and that is for a 3-year term. Then we have the Advisory Committee for the Disabled, which has 2 appointments available for 1-year terms. And finally, we have the Parks and Recreation Commission, which has 2 appointments, and those are for a 4-year term. Persons are encouraged to look into these committees and look to file a community service application. Those are available from our city clerk's office, located here at City Hall, or you may also apply online at the city's website, which again is www.cityofsparks.us. Just simply click on the Governing tab, and that will take you to where you can click on boards and commissions and get involved. And from there, simply complete the community service application. You may file that online. The mayor will be receiving these applications after the close of business on Tuesday, June 2nd. Please take this opportunity to serve your community. Thank you, sir.
More than one copy. Is there more than one copy?
Yeah, there's like 3.
Okay, any other comments from the council or city manager? Okay, seeing no further business, we are adjourned.
Call the order of the redevelopment agency meeting of Tuesday, May 18th with a roll call, please.
Chairman Smith?
Here.
Agency Secretary Patterson here. Agency members Ratty? Here. Salerno? Here. Martini?
Here.
Kerrigan?
Here.
Schmidt?
Here.
Chief Administrative Officer Carey?
Here.
Agency Attorney Adams?
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, this is our public comment time. I do not have any cards. Would anybody like to speak under public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for approval of the agenda, taking anything out of sequence, changing anything.
Move to approve the agenda as outlined by staff, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I have a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimously. Number 3, public hearing is required by NRS 354-596 to allow public comment on the tentative budgets of the redevelopment agency of the city of Sparks, Districts 1 and 2 for fiscal year 2010-2011. Jeff?
Long time no see.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Deja vu.
Members of the agency, same procedures we did for the city. 2 items. One, to open up the public comment on the tentative budget that was filed on April 15th, and then the second item would be to approve the final budget for both the agency for the two areas.
Okay, any questions? Comments? Okay, we'll move on. This is a public hearing item, so I'll open up the public. Anybody like to speak on this subject? Seeing none, bring it back to the agency. Move to number 4, consideration and possible adoption of the final budgets for the redevelopment agencies of the City of Sparks, Districts 1 and 2 for fiscal year 2010-2011.
Okay. Again, same procedure. This one, there weren't any substantive changes since the workshop that we had discussed at the, for the redevelopment agencies. Both areas 1 and 2 are presented in your packet there for your consideration for final approval.
Okay, any questions, comments? Motion? Need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to adopt the final budget for redevelopment agency of the city of Sparks for Districts 1 and 2 as presented today for fiscal year 2010-11.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, comments from the agency and chief administrative officer? Nothing? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned.